it has been reversed. 80% of modern day attacks are now sourced from internal sources, and only 20% may be still coming from external resources. How is that possible? Your perimeter firewall became very smart. It was able to stop lots of attacks. However, if one device got infected, or with this bring your own device policy, you brought on top of the network an infected device, in order to tighten the security, you need to control this traffic coming out from every device to every other device inside your environment. Some people would stop and say, so what? We can do this. We can do this with our firewall. You are correct. But for this type of traffic to reach to the firewall, you have a big network challenge, that you need to put a firewall on every single VLAN, on every single segment, because the firewalls cannot filter layer 2 traffic, and you need to put every single server or application or whatsoever on a separate VLAN to make it a routed or a layer 3 traffic, to let this type of traffic being intercepted by the firewall, which is very challenging network design and architecture task. The simpler way is to deploy the firewall in front of every single VM and every single application. And as I mentioned earlier, there are two ways to do that. Either by installing an agent inside every single VM. There are solutions out there in the market doing so, but this can be costly, this can be complex, because you need to install something in every single VM, and it can put some sort of performance degradation to your application, because you are now installing an agent per VM. The other way is to do it on the hypervisor level, on your virtualization level. And in that case, you are inspecting on your hypervisor on the virtual NIC level of your VM. It will be intercepted by the hypervisor, and the hypervisor will be doing the filtration over there. So when it comes to virtualization solutions, vSphere solution is known as NSX. For our HV solution, our solution is called as Flow. Flow will be able to offer you native built-in VM microsegmentation to control this east-west traffic. Our value in Flow would be two things: simplicity of operation, how simple it is, and how fast you can get this service up and running. In Flow, you just need to go to your Prism, enable Flow, and that's it. No extra controllers you need to install, no extra piece of packages or libraries you need to install to your hypervisor to prepare it for that, nothing. Flow is just a checkbox. Once you enable it, you can immediately start configuring your security policies and rules, and Flow is running. Flow, as I mentioned, will allow you to have this security. It will give you sort of visualization to see what type of traffic flows is going on, who is communicating with whom. You can do that as well with Flow. Flow can inspect traffic on layer 3 and layer 4. I mean the network layer and the TCP UDP layers. However, if you are interested in doing deep packet inspection or inspection up to the layer 7 of the application, we can integrate Flow via service chaining to third-party firewalls like Palo Alto or Trend Micro or others as well in our ecosystem, where we can hook up the Palo Alto firewall after Flow firewall, so you are able to do the network inspection and the application inspection as well for your virtual machine traffic or east-west traffic. The last product on this essentials product, guys, we are now trying or aiming to build an agile, smart, true private cloud. This won't make any sense if you don't have the resources that will help you manage your data center in a more efficient way, in a smarter way. And we have in this aspect a product here running inside your Prism as well. You can license and enable it, called Prism Pro. Prism Pro comes with a set of capabilities for smarter and more efficient IT operations. Example, and I'm not going to cover every single part of the Prism Pro. If you are interested to know more, I can definitely, with Redington team, we can organize for maybe a follow-up webinar if you are interested in one or more of the topics that I'm discussing, because I'm limited in time, and as you can see, the portfolio is big, so many products to cover. However, I'm trying to touch lightly on the products that we have. Deeper investigation and deep dive, definitely we can be willing and happy to answer any of your questions regarding any of the products that I'm discussing today. So let's go back to our topic. Prisma Pro, for example, can, with some native machine learning algorithm running inside it, give you a forecast for your clusters, how many days are left for you before you run out of resources in the cluster. It can forecast and predict for you if you are good for the next 6, 7, 8 months, or you will be running out of CPU or memory or storage maybe after 200 days. This can help you to prepare in advance rather than for them to then be sort of reactive rather than being proactive. So all of those capacity planning and the forecasting, one of so many features in Prism Pro. Another valuable function of Prism Pro that I personally admire a lot, the idea of VM right sizing. I believe, and I have asked this question before to so many partners and so many customers, most of them, they agree with me that this is a common issue in almost every data center. I'm sorry, yeah? Is there a question? Yes?
Who jumped into. So for the ID is 50%. The ID.
Can you repeat again? I didn't hear the question. I'm sorry. Hello? Guys, if you have a question, maybe if you can type it better in the Q&A, and maybe after the presentation I can take them by one. Okay? So I'll go back to the topic that I was discussing, that in most of the IT, of most of the data centers, we usually face this issue, that we have some VMs that are, or that were created from before for a specific test scenario or for certain situation, and it's no longer needed, and it was left up and running in the data center, consuming my resources. If you are following a proper naming convention, you can easily spot them and identify them and maybe delete them, but sometimes we don't follow the naming convention, and sometimes those VMs are just sitting there idle doing nothing. Not that only, and there is another popular issue in the data center, is that in many data centers you have the problem of oversized VMs. What do I mean by oversized VMs? Like, for example, you have an application that was demanding 6 gigs of RAM. To make sure that we are on the safe side, we configure for it, for example, 8 gigs of RAM. I'm just giving some rough numbers, but usually we tend to oversize to make sure that all of us are on the good side. The opposite, undersized VMs. VMs that for the last month are being constrained and the RAM consumption is at 99.99%. Definitely, and for sure there is a performance issue out there. So Prisma Pro, one of the many things that it can do besides capacity planning, it can as well do sort of profiling for your virtual machines. It's monitoring 21 KPI performance metric per VM, and it's looking over the past 3 weeks at least to avoid any false information, to take all of the cycles into consideration, including weekdays, weekends, and it can spot for you in one click all of the VMs that are inactive and nobody is using it, so that you can power it off or delete them. It can spot for you in one click all of the VMs that are oversized, and oversized by how much? and giving you recommendation that you should downsize it by the following quantity, so that you can start claiming all of those spaces back. Maybe you are in short of resources and you are looking for some resources to claim back in order to accommodate a new workload. It can also identify for you in one click all of the undersized VMs, the ones that are constrained from performance, so that you can solve the issue before a ticket is being raised or whatsoever. So Prism Pro, we sometimes call it one-click operation. It's a bunch of machine learning capabilities that makes the management of your data center very smart and much more efficient. So with that, with Nutanix HCI on top, and with the other enterprise products, essentials product that I have just mentioned, we can help you build your private cloud. However, we can stop there, but we can go the extra mile and help you as well extend those functionalities with Nutanix enterprise products. And this is my next topic that I'm going to discuss here. So with Nutanix enterprise products, as you can see, there are so many products out there that can help the customer in other use cases, that can help go beyond just only private cloud, but extend the functionality. Let's go and see each one of those. As you can see in the enterprise, there are so many products, so we decided to subcategorize them into 3 subcategories. Products that can help you operate in a multi-cloud architecture, products that can help you to build modern applications, and products that can help you to eliminate completely the cloud boundaries. So let's start with the products that can help you operate in a multi-cloud environment, and we are speaking mainly about 2 products, Beam and Frame. Beam, I would say that it would be a product that even if you don't have Nutanix on-prem, you can still consume it, because Beam is a SaaS, a software as a service running inside Nutanix Cloud. Beam is for customers that are heavily dependent on public cloud providers like AWS, Azure, or GCP, and they are desperate or looking for ways to help them cut down the cost that they are paying to the public cloud. Beam can you can connect Beam to your Azure, to your GCP, to your AWS account, and you can connect Beam as well to your on-prem Nutanix cluster, HV or ESXi. And Beam will start inspecting your consumption in the cloud and on-prem, and it will start showing you show back and charge back operations, how much it's costing per team or per application. Plus, you can use it to track the expenditure that you are spending in the cloud, in multiple clouds at the same time, multiple accounts at the same time. You can track all of that. And not that only, Beam can help you as well by giving you suggestions that can suggest for you how can you cut down the cost that you are paying to the public cloud. And I'm going to give an example. I refer to it a lot. Public cloud providers usually, when they sell you compute instances, they sell it in t-shirt sizes, small, medium, large, X large instance. Imagine that you had XYZ application running in your AWS account, and you have decided to select an EC2 instance that is large. And after 3-4 months, after looking how much you spend and the utilization, Beam can spot for you that and recommend you should, for XYZ, downsize it from large to small, for example, because I know what are the options out there, how much you are consuming out of the resources, how can I help you. Beam can as well spot the performance and say that ABC application, I can see the performance for that is some sort of steady performance, no spiky performance. As most of us know, a good candidate application for the cloud is an elastic application with lots of spikes, ups and downs in the performance that you might leverage the elasticity of the public cloud, scale up, scale down. However, if you have specific application that is more of steady state performance, same performance metrics all the time, same average, this is a better candidate and a more economic way to run it on-prem, taking the TCO calculations. So Beam can start recommending for you as well which applications are good candidates and should be in your plan to migrate them on-prem, because it will be cheaper for you to run it on-prem. So this was for Beam. What about Frame? Frame is a product. It's actually a company that we have acquired almost 2 years ago, and it's for a desktop as a service. Uh, how can I help the customer uh, transform and adopt, maybe with the new working from home strategies? How can I let the users connect to their desktops, to their working environment? And guess what? We need to go as soon as possible, as fast as we can. With Frame, I can help you with that by offering a desktop as a service solution running in the cloud in under 1 hour. In under 1 hour, you can have your workspace ready for all of the applications, even the graphic intensive application, accessible from any browser, no special client or plugin needed or software needed to install, just a URL, an authentication URL from the browser. You authenticate to the username and password, and you are ready. You can attach to it multiple storage options. You can attach to it or integrate with multiple authentication and identity management options. And you are also able to consume it on multiple cloud options. Like with Frame, you have the choice whether your VDI or your desktop instances are in AWS, or you want them to be in Azure, or you want them on GCP, or even on your AHV cluster. But I have to be honest, any VDI or desktop as a service solution, there are two components for it. There is the brokerage service that are responsible for authenticating you and mapping you to your desktop instance, and the desktop instance, the back-end servers for that. For Frame, regardless which cloud you will choose in your account, where to consume my VDI instances, where I will be keeping my golden image that I will be using to create my desktop images from. You choose any one of those four that I mentioned already, but the brokerage service in all of the cases will remain on the cloud. And this is one of the big difference between desktop as a service and VDI. VDI can be a completely on-prem solution, but this is more of a cloud-like experience that with Frame we will be able, and we can help you go into the cloud with all of your VDI and with your desktop instances in maybe under 1 hour. If you are interested more about Frame, if there is an urgent need that you are looking for, especially in the right situation that you might see Frame as something that can help your company, please reach out to me or to Redington team, and definitely we will loop you in with the right people to take it from there. So with that, we have finished the first subcategory, products that help you survive in this multi-cloud environment. Now let's speak about the second subcategory, which are products that can help you to build modern cloud applications. And we speak mainly about 4 products: Carbon, Era, and Objects and Volumes. So Carbon, it's a very simple thing. Prism, the same Prism management console that I mentioned earlier. Sorry for that. So we were able to run inside Prism my virtual machines. We were able to run inside Prism my file services. Now imagine I can run inside Prism with one click, and in less than 15 minutes, a full Google Kubernetes cluster where I can start running in parallel my containerized applications. And the good news, Carbon is for free. There is no license for Carbon. So instead of doing the heavy lifting and manually creating my Kubernetes cluster, where you install by yourself your CentOS VMs, prepare them, install the engines, install the Kubernetes software, create the master nodes, the worker nodes, join them in a cluster. All of these heavy lifting tasks, I can do it for you in one click in a completely automatic way. So the same Nutanix cluster running your virtual machines, running your file services can be also as well running your Kubernetes clusters and your containerized applications. Also, one of the most important and the core IT service or in any IT application you are running, the back end of any IT application is what? It's a database. And database is one of the most critical workloads in any environment. And databases are the responsibility mainly of the DBAs. And usually we don't have one single type of database in our environment, but we can have a mix and match. Maybe some are based on Oracle, some are based on Microsoft SQL, maybe MySQL, MariaDB, maybe MongoDB even, Postgres, etc., etc. The problem is every one of these databases needs a special skill set managed in a different and separate way. And databases is very critical. Any slight test or a Q&A or development task associated, you would never ever touch the database. So DBAs usually start copying databases and doing their tests or development on the copies. And imagine that every day, maybe I have seen in some cases this happens every day, you take a copy of the database today. The database is 200 gig, the copy is also 200 gig. So it puts pressure on the storage consumption. You are working, today is Wednesday, you are doing some sort of test, blah, 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 blah. You finish your day, tomorrow is Thursday. The production database, its content has changed with the transactions that were executed on Wednesday. So when I continue my tests on Thursday, I will not continue on the old database content. I need to refresh the database copy. So DBAs are dealing with lots of copies, multiple instances to manage, multiple database engines to manage as well, lots of challenges associated with the management and the operation of that. We have developed, this is a pure in-house development, not an acquisition. We have developed a solution named ERA for database as a service. Imagine all of these database engines, Oracle, Microsoft SQL, MySQL, Postgres, Mongo, MariaDB, and even in the roadmap we are planning for SAP HANA. All of these databases are managed from one single place, one single console, which is ERA. You can use ERA with predefined customizable template to automate the provisioning of new databases. We have a certain bank in Abu Dhabi that we were doing that for them in the POC, and the usual average time for the creation of the database was a week and a half, or I would say a week plus. We were able to provision the new database instance in less than an hour, and they were really happy with that. Not that only, with the data, with ERA, you use APIs to the database, you use APIs to Nutanix storage, you leverage Nutanix native snapshots, and with some extra capabilities of ERA for log catch-up, I can create for every single database instance out there what we refer to as the time machine. The time machine enables you to revert the database to any specific date, hour, minute, and second, and restore the database to this state. Not that only, with the time machine level, I can choose any previous state of the database and immediately create a clone, a copy, for all of those testing and development operations. And guess what? We are leveraging Nutanix snapshots. And when we use Nutanix snapshot, the new copy that we create is 0 in size. So we release the stress that the DBAs that can be putting on the storage admins, because every copy in the old days was an equivalent exact size replica of the original DB. Now every single clone that we are creating, almost takes 0 byte on disk almost takes 0 second to create, because we are leveraging Nutanix snapshots which are based on redirects on writes rather than copy on writes. We don't, when we create clones or snapshots, we don't replicate data, we just replicate metadata. And the copy will initially be of almost a size of 0, and it will start to grow only with the modifications or the changes. So we are handling all of those database operation in a very, very, very smart and efficient way that can help both DBAs and as well help the storage or the infrastructure team. The last two products on this list are extra data services that you can bring on top of your Nutanix cluster, which is objects and volumes. We spoke about files, file servers, and NAS. This is one of the data services, but there are other types of data services. One of the popular data services out there in the market is called object storage. I'm not sure if you are familiar with it or not, or you have something equivalent like that in your data center or not. Maybe not every single customer out there runs with an object store solution, but it's very popular when it comes to backups and archives. And on personal level, every one of us have been a user of object storage technologies on his smartphone. Applications like Dropbox, Google Drive, etc. These types of application is an illustration of object storage services. So Nutanix decided that we are breaking down the silos of the data center. We broke down the SAN. We broke down the NAS silo. Why shouldn't we broke as well the object storage? Leave out in the data center still an object storage box on its own as a separate management console. We shall bring it inside Prism. So from Prism, on the same place that you manage services, you manage your Kubernetes and containerized application, you can as well manage your object and object storage services. And lastly, volumes is for block storage. If you are more familiar with vSphere environment, you should, or you might have heard about RDMs, raw device mappings, where you offer block storage to your VMs bypassing the hypervisor. It's an idea that is made to be able to create clustered applications like Microsoft Flower cluster on your version, which is some sort of shared storage. So instead of every VM has its own local disk, this sort of a disk that is attached to two or more VM instances, and we needed to create some sort of a, and instead of mapping it to the hypervisor, you need to map to the VM's iSCSI instances directly to the guest operating system inside the VMs. We do the same as well with Nutanix volumes. We can create some sort of volumes, which is more or less like a LUN, and present it to either VMs on top of Nutanix that you want to make them as a clustered application, or even if you want to present them as iSCSI targets to external physical or bare metal servers. Imagine that you have an Oracle rack server sitting outside of the Nutanix platform, and you want to store the Oracle database on top of Nutanix. Is this possible? Definitely. You can create a series of volumes, present them to the iSCSI initiators of your Oracle servers, and you store the Oracle database on top of Nutanix. What will be the value for the customer to bring the data on Nutanix? Once you bring the data in Nutanix, you can leverage Nutanix storage features like compression, like native snapshots, and native data protection and replication. Plus, you manage all of your assets from one single console, which is Prism. The last products that we have here, or the last subcategory in the enterprise products, is products to eliminate the cloud boundaries. And we mainly refer here to our public cloud, which we call it Xi. Xi is the name of Nutanix public cloud. And one of the very first products that we offered and launched inside Xi is Xi Leap for the customers that are willing to offer DR functionality for specific VMs and they don't have a secondary site. Imagine you have a main site, you have some workloads over there, and you don't have a secondary site to replicate to offer the DR functions. So how can I help you? Since you are a Nutanix customer, you can hook up this Nutanix cluster via VPN to Nutanix Xi, and you decide to replicate to Nutanix Xi, and the license here will be based on VM, how many VMs you are replicating to Nutanix Cloud. By that being said, I believe we have now a better understanding. I hope I was able to convey the message clearly, and you have a better understanding now of the Nutanix platform. How can I help you to build this cloud-like experience with the Nutanix product portfolio? There are so many reasons that you should consider to partner up with Nutanix for your own success. Nutanix is known in the market with a reputation of being customer obsessed. We have nearly, this number is now almost 15,000 customers worldwide, with an average of 97% customer satisfaction ratio. And we are so proud about our NPS score. Maybe if you are unfamiliar with NPS, NPS is a third-party organization measuring the after-sales experience of a specific product from their customers, how their customers would recommend this product that they have purchased to other customers. It's a scale from -100 to +100. We have been sitting proudly the last 5 consecutive years at the +90 side, where the average IT value is at the +30. So this can give you an indication of the after-sales experience of Nutanix and how the Nutanix support helps to increase the customer satisfaction and the retention of customer with us. Nutanix is known by popular market studies made by organizations like Gartner and Forrester Wave as a leader inside the HCI. Actually, we brought this concept to the market, as I mentioned earlier in this presentation back in 2009. We invented the concept of HCI, and since then we are the leaders. We are offering, as I mentioned as well in the beginning, multiple options to choose from, how to consume your hypervisor, which public cloud to integrate with, and we offer a huge range of hardware platform to choose from, either from Nutanix or from the rest of the OEM vendors that I have previously stated. With that portfolio, with that unified architecture, Nutanix is capable to run and support and certified to run all of workloads. I used 1.5 years ago to mention in this slide that we were certified to run everything except SAP HANA. However, this has changed, and when SAP HANA started certifying HCI solutions in the market to be certified to run SAP HANA, Nutanix was the first HCI vendor on top of HV, our own hypervisor, to run such mission-critical workload. This is just to give you more information and more confidence about our own hypervisor, that it's even certified to run such challenging and mission-critical workload. We have references in most of the industries. However, those are more of like global references. If you are looking for local references in your country or in the same industry, please get back to us and we will loop you in with the account team that can help you get a list of the local references. Lastly, and this will be the last slide for me in my presentation, please don't take it for granted. Everything works perfectly inside the PowerPoint. However, in reality, how would be the end user experience looking like? So please capture this URL. You can register there yourself, nutanix.com/test-drive, and you can be given access to a Nutanix cluster in the cloud, where you can connect to it by yourself and test the end user experience personally. This was Walid Shahata. This was my presentation for you today. I hope, guys, the session was beneficial. You had now a better and more clear understanding of Nutanix solution. Thank you, And
Thank
let's see if there are any questions that were on the chat. Thank you guys for joining us today.
Thank you
I
so
hope
much,
the
guys.
session was-
We will be sharing the recording with you soon. And if there are any other questions, you can write to us or Waleed, and we are happy to answer them for you.